So for everyone not up to date, it seems there's been a new 4chan leak. Someone claiming to be a part of the government has dropped some new alien lore on us. What we've been given is a video that's supposedly from an archaeological dig from 2022 in Antarctica. The original poster in question dropped this on 4chan, answered a bunch of questions, and has created a bit of stir. So I thought we should probably go through these questions and see if we can use our occult knowledge to tease out if there's anything valid here or not. So without further ado, let's just jump into the thread. OP starts off with the video in question and stating, "This video you are about to view features a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon." Thank you for clarifying, OP. "Recovered in Antarctica in 2022. In contrast to the recently disclosed footage from 2 days ago, the UAP in this video is of ancient origin and was discovered within a cave. Ask me anything." Now, I'll leave links to the threads in the description. To cut things short, we'll just go through the main questions and answers. Who are you? Next question. Fair enough. Where did you get this video? Antarctica, November 2022. Did you take the video? No. Why does it look extremely similar to the New Nations video? Same civilization, in inverted commas, and same purpose. Why now to release this? I can't answer that. So this post here is interesting because he's keeping things vague. This, you could say, is a little bit of a red flag. He's keeping things vague so that people will jump to conclusions, and then he'll take those conclusions and, build lore and story off them. But let's see where he goes. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give Anon the benefit of the doubt. Seems to be of ancient origin. There is no way of getting inside of it, but it doesn't seem to be hollow. It's not that heavy. The material is unknown, but it is some kind of metal. Can you tell us at least who you worked for and what was your job? Department of Defense, DOD. So supposedly we got a leaker from the DOD here. Same task force as Jake Barber? No. Care to share any details whatsoever on the object? Seems to be of ancient origin. There is no way of getting inside of it, but it doesn't seem to be hollow. It's not that heavy. The material is unknown, but it is some kind of metal. So this right here is in reference to the egg artifact that was taken. Why did you put civilization in quotes? What was found inside the cave was more like a military base than a civilization. I don't know what these non-human entities were doing. The place was abandoned. Adding a little sprinkle of lore there. If you didn't record it, who did? UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNUSA, which is a real department. What were you doing in Antarctica in November of 2022? Retrieving ancient artifact or technology. We found a live non-human sentient being within a coffin-like pod. It doesn't use cryogenics, but it has kept the entity alive. So now we got some interesting lore drop here. He seemed to be claiming that they've got a real alien that was also extracted from the dig. Also, it may just be me, projecting here, but this answer sounds a little bit AI-ish. Sounds a little chat GPT-ish. He answers the question, retrieving ancient artifacts or technology. I mean, it could just be he's trying to keep it vague, but we'll just put a little red sticker on that and keep going. What is the provenance of this video file? The video was recorded by UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNUSA. Antarctica is a no man's land, so this was a team effort. The pilots were American, but most of the scientific and archaeological teams were European. Now, this is another thing that I'll say feels a little bit ChatGPT-ish, is when people use acronyms and they describe it once, but then every time they use the acronym again, they always give it out in full and the acronym in brackets. Like, you gave it out in full once, bro. You don't need to keep spelling it out for us. It just seems like he's copy-pasting from a ChatGPT screen or something like that. Once again, this could just be me projecting, but let's continue and see where he goes with this. Let's hear more about this alien bro that they dig out of a pod. Got any proof or documentation that this actually happened besides the video? No. Which, fair enough. Got more videos? Photos? Many more. You wouldn't imagine. I think I will be authorized to post more soon, but for now, you'll have to be satisfied with this. So he's been authorized by higher powers. Very interesting. The creature was found in a pod. Did you look at it? I have photos of them. They are tall, 8 feet tall, white, long hair and a human face. Yet there is something off. The entity is alive and recuperated quite fast from their sleep. Damn. So they found a real-life JoJo character. Queen Elizabeth Range Mountains? Is that where you found these things? Yes. Got any word on any other whistleblowers coming out soon? No, but I wouldn't trust most of the ones you see on those Congress streams. There are two groups, as most of you know. One wants disclosure, the others don't. Let's just say the others are presenting you BS. You're getting more info here, now. Now, this is a very interesting paragraph I just want to mention because this is a little sussy Barker. If he is legit, this smells of psyop. This is the old, there are two teams. I'm the good guy. The others are the bad guys. Don't worry about what they say. I'm your friend, bro. Trust me. The good stuff is here. You don't need to look anywhere else. Don't stop looking in other places. I'm the good guy. You know, that's what he's basically saying here. It smells if this is legit and he's not just using ChatGPT to make a cool sci-fi stories, if this is legit, this is a sussy Baka paragraph right here. Did you interact with it? No, but I spoke with someone who did. The entity learns quite fast. They learned English and German in less than a week. Damn, so this really is a Jojo Pillarman. Hardcore. So there are ranking members with access to this info, actively giving authorization for release? There are two groups, as most of you know here. One wants disclosure, the others don't. Let's just say the others are presenting you BS. You're getting more interesting and real info in this place, to be honest. Let's say I'm one of the good guys. Same critique as before. This is very, I'm the good guys, bro. Trust me, bro. Source, trust me, bro. Yeah, okay. Let's just, once again, as Aristotle says, it is the mark of an intelligent mind to entertain a thought without believing it. So let's just bracket it there. Let's just hold in suspension everything he says. I'm not going to disregard it outright, but it should be noted that that's a little sassy baka. That's a little amogus imposter, if you know what I mean. Male and female creatures, would you say they are attractive? Damn, Anon wants those Area 51 feet pics desperately, huh? The only one we have in Europe is male. I'd say they are attractive features, strong chin, blue eyes, white blonde hair, and so on. So he hasn't named it yet, but he's clearly, they got a Nordic alien. One of those Nordic aliens that kind of looks like a Swedish supermodel. He hasn't named it though, he's still being pretty vague about it, so let's see where he goes. What were they wearing? This one was naked when we found him. Any symbols on craft or anything? No symbols on the egg. Nothing. Which is false because there are pictures that show the egg has symbols on it. Inside, we did find some things with symbols, but this is as far as I can go. Sorry. Makes me wonder if he's using an AI chatbot, but like putting in spelling errors just so you think he's human. They are very human spelling errors, but tell us more about the Nordics, bro. Did the being have human genitals? Alien dick pics confirmed? Yes and no. The penis is similar to that of a human. We do have photos of it. Alien dick pics confirmed. But the tip is similar to that of a chimpanzee's. The scrotum is just like ours. Okay, we got some monkey magic going on, apparently. Did he talk through vocals or telepathy? He can do both, yet the second form only works with some of our teams. Some of the people who interacted with him didn't listen to his telepathic communication in their heads. According to him, it has to do with acceptance. Now this is where we can whip out some of our occult knowledge here. What he just said here, this smells. It has the scent, the reek of New Age slop. Oh, it has to do with acceptance. That's why people couldn't hear. Nah, that is bullshit. That is New Age slop. Has nothing to do with anything to do with telepathy. Why? Because, believe it or not, we've been studying telepathy for over 100 years in parapsychological observatories. And even though the field of parapsychology, yeah, I know, it's controversial, there's still data you can extract from there, which is valuable. And if you're an occultist, then you can use that data, bend back and look at traditions in the past and go, oh, okay, some things are legit, some things are not. And then when you come to the New Age and you read New Age slop and they say things like, oh, you just need acceptance and you'll be able to listen, just let go. No, that's New Age slop right there. Premium New Age slop. And I say this because, you know, occult literature and parapsychological literature is not the stuff that people usually study. What people usually study is New Age slop. So if he is using a large language model or ChatGPT or something, you're gonna see New Age-ish terms like this pop up. So this is, now I'm moving back towards, this is just some dude making a cool sci-fi story using a large language model. That's what this is feeling like to me. How did his voice sound? According to the astrobiologist I spoke with, why would it be an astrobiologist and not a linguist or a philologist? Like, bro, we've seen Arrival. Sure, you can have an astrobiologist, but you need a linguist or an etymologist or something if you want to talk to an alien. The voice sounds like your own. It's strange. He basically said, it sounds like when you're thinking a monologue. So I guess this is just a callback to the telepathy thing. Can you let us know anything he said? Many things. 1. He was born here 700 years ago. The original old flag. 2. The closest we got to understand God was the Corpus Hermeticum. Based. Okay, I'm back on board. We're back in, boys. We're back in. Corpus Hermeticum confirmed. Let's go. 3. He considers us selfish and childish. True higher beings don't speak like that. They would say something like, well, they pity humans, or they have compassion for humans because we're veiled in ignorance. Saying we're petty and childish is, once again, something that you would read in a book that comes from the field of New Age slop. That's another New Age slop term right there. Oh, this humanity, we're just unevolved. We're just still children, and you need the elders, the galactic elders, to come and teach you how to do things. Yeah, no, New Age slop. 4. He says we were happier during his time. Can't tell you more than this. Fair enough. Traditionalism confirmed. The alien is a traditionalist. 5. Their race saved us millions of years ago from our creators, who basically engineered us to serve them. So this is interesting lore now. Now this is getting into the aliens are the beings from ancient religion and myth. A really brief way to summarize this is, you can go and read Gathas, the Gathas of Zarathustra, the hymns of Zarathustra. I always recommend doing this because those are really short, but in those you'll notice something. The supreme god is called what? It's called Ahura Mazda. And Ahura Mazda dispenses Asha, or spiritual force, onto people. The people who master that spiritual force are called the Ashavan. Now, opposite Asha, opposite spiritual force, is corrupting force, the Druj. And people who master Druj are called Drujavan, or people of the lie. And who do the Drujavan serve? In the Gathas of Zarathustra, they serve the Deva. Where else do you hear the Deva? The Deva as a term comes from Vedic mythology. The Devas are from the Vedas. And who are the antithesis of the Devas in the Vedas? The Asura. So it's interesting you have ancient societies have this split. There seems to be a god that's the creator, or a faction that belongs to the creator god archetype. And then there's another faction, which is the rebellious one, the gods of rebellion. And it's either something like the creator gods are the good guys, and then these others came and tempted humanity away and corrupted us. Or it's the opposite. Our creators created us, but they're tyrants. And the rebellious ones, they came to save us, to redeem us. So you have this dichotomy then going off in pretty much all of ancient mythology. I mean, going back to the word Asura, what does that sound like? Asura, Asur, Aesir. What are the Aesir? Odin, Thor, Loki are of the race of Aesir. And when you read Norse mythology, you know they had a war with another race called the Wanes, or the Vanir. You see the same kind of stuff in Greek mythology as well, with the Olympians versus the Titans, and although there's a kind of a hereditary descent of Olympians coming from the Titans, there's still this, who created humanity in Greek mythology? It wasn't the Olympians, it was actually the Titans. Prometheus creates humanity. Our creator, Prometheus, is a Titan. And what happens to our creator? Well, he's chained to a rock by a tyrant, i.e. Zeus, who is then worshipped by humans. And what does Zeus do in the myths? He comes down and acts all rapey with human women. It's really weird if you frame it like that. So there seems to be, throughout all human history, this dichotomy, not necessarily between angels and demons, but between factions of gods, lowercase g gods, that are these other kinds of beings, and one faction are creators and one are rebels. And who's the good guy is the question. That's the question. So it seems to be the side he's taking is we have creators and that faction is evil, and it's the people who came, the rebellious ones that came. And supposedly the rebellious ones who came are the Nordics. The Nordics are the rebels who came and tried to save humanity. So let's see where he goes from that. Let's see how deep he goes into that lore. Number 6, Earth should be treasured. It's a miracle. That just sounds, that's kind of green vibe, sounds very new agey, but can't fold him to that. Yeah, Earth is all right. It's pretty good. What info do you have about their origin? culture, and reason to be there. We're still trying to understand their origin. This notion of space and time is different from ours. And this is, well, I never really like stuff like this. This also screams of new agey stuff. Like, there are different ways to view time. You know, just whip out some Henry Bergson or something. You don't just have to be, it's like, oh, they have a different notion of time, so it's hard to talk. Yeah, we've all seen the movie Arrival, bro. Calm down. They came here as space missionaries. When they arrived, another advanced race was already here. This other race created Homo neanderthalensis.
Homo neanderthalensis.
That word, to serve them and help them take Earth's resources. However, it was a failure, and Homo sapiens was created later on. When the space missionaries arrived, they entered into war with the other race to save us. Since then, they have been protecting us. In fact, back in 1975, they stopped a nuclear war. Okay, thanks. I gotta say, the term space missionary is cringe, and also has a bit of a new agey flavor, but let's keep going. The other race, according to the entity, represents what we could become if we don't change. Advanced oppressors with no spirituality to guide us. Yeah, sure thing, bro. Their last conflict here on Earth occurred in 1561 during the celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg. That's cool lore. That's cool lore. I'm not gonna hate. No hate. How can I be sure this is not a LARP? That's up to you to decide. I know what I have and what I have shared. Fair enough. Also, what do you think of Elizondo? Is he a massive grifter or saying the truth? Isn't he the one claiming aliens are demons? I wouldn't trust fundamentalist Christians pretending to be whistleblowers. Now, I gotta kind of agree with this here. Do you know where the aliens are demons things come from? I'll tell you where. The first time that accusation is ever made is actually more to do with Men in Black. So for those who know UFO lore, you've heard of the term Men in Black. I mean, you know, there's the movie, but before the movie was out, there were stories of supposed government agents coming accosting people who had either seen alien spacecraft or had been abducted themselves, supposedly, and they would basically loosely allude to the fact that they should not speak about it. And supposedly the Men in Black phenomena was quite common. But one of the things you don't hear about, because, you know, the movie came out and everyone, you know, talks about Men in Black now, if you actually go and look up proper Men in Black lore, they have some weird lore. Like, the Men in Black, as in, like, the actual agents, are weird, and it's almost like they're not human, but there's something that's acting human. Like, there's weird stories of a guy being in a restaurant and two Men in Black guys come in and they sit down at the table with him and order food and then, you know, have a conversation with him, and they order food and they'll do, you know, he said something like a steak would come and they try to eat it with a spoon instead of a fork and knife. Like, it's as if there's something imitating what a human would do, but it didn't really understand humans. And the whole thing to do with demons comes from, there was one guy who was accosted by Men in Black agents, who then, the Men in Black agents left, the guy went to chase after them. Apparently they went down a side alley, or he saw them go down an alley, and when he went after them, it was a dead end alley, and there was nothing there. He lost them, they just disappeared. But the guy could apparently smell the faint scent of sulfur. So what do you have from that story? That, you know, Men in Black lore. What you have is basically the idea that there is something that is a non-human intelligence that can project images that physical humans can interact with, and it has an invested interest in regulating knowledge about aliens. Also, when its images, its illusions disappear, you smell sulfur. Well, when a being that's not really there disappears and smells sulfur, what does that sound like? It sounds like a demon, basically. So from that, and then follow-up stories like that, people have this aliens are demons thing nowadays, and that seems to be something that's been pushed really heavily in recent times. And I'm not really convinced from that distinction. I mean, I don't want to get into like other conspiracy theories, but I would trust the Vatican less than aliens, is all I'm going to say about that. This whole aliens are demons things just really strikes me as, if it's not the Vatican, there's some kind of weird Christian psyop going on. Nonetheless, let us continue. Any questions you would ask other whistleblowers leakers? No. Those who are telling you the truth belong to the same team. We already know what is to be known. I wouldn't want to ask anything from the others who are not part of my system, because everything they would tell would be either disinformation or lies mixed with truth. So once again, we have the old, They're on the wrong... Be on the right team, bro. Be on my side. The right team. I'm telling you the truth. Trust me, bro. Those other guys, they're lying to you. I'm not lying to you. Trust me, bro. Come with me and you'll be on the right team. There is an internal conflict within the government between two factions. Let's just say I support the idea of humans knowing, once again, that we are not alone, that the gods are out there. So very interesting. Once again, if this is all true, I actually do support I do support human knowing as well. I mean, who doesn't want to know? We all want to know. And if aliens do exist, and it is a government cover-up, there more than likely are competing factions. We may not know exactly what the factions want, but roughly you could categorize two of them. One that would want to explain aliens, and one that would want to keep them hidden. The only problem is the ones that want to reveal aliens, why? Do they want to reveal aliens so that we can all know and know the truth and be one with the gods? Or is there some ulterior, you know, is there something, another deeper layer of psyop that's going to happen? I mean, once again, talking about the church, how did the church become so powerful? They became intercessors between the rest of humanity and a higher power. If the government can be like, yeah, aliens exist, but you have to go through the government to get to the aliens, to talk to the aliens, you can kind of see where there'd be a faction inside the government that wants to release knowledge of aliens to the public just so that they could further regulate and gain kind of more power on a social level. There is that side of it. Got any code words we can Google? What is known is already known, and what is not known is not on Google, which I guess is true. You'll get more info from books, even those from antiquity, like Plato's Timaeus. Hey, Plato makes mention. That's pretty based, actually. I mean, I wonder why he's saying Plato's Timaeus, which is more a book of kind of just general cosmology, like a Pythagorean metaphysics Timaeus. The Timaeus and the Critias are the two books that are kind of combined into one. The Timaeus is the first book that mentions Atlantis, funnily enough, and the follow-on book is the Critias, which is the book that actually mentions and talks about Atlantis and the city and Orichalcum and all of that kind of stuff. Funnily enough, it's in the Timaeus that, you know, Socrates has this big conversation and three people stand up. Timaeus, Critias, and Hermocrates. And it's supposed to be that Timaeus speaks first, and then Critias speaks, and then Hermocrates speaks. And the interesting thing is we have all of the Timaeus, sorry. But the Critias is incomplete. We only have a half of it, basically. The other half has been lost to antiquity. So we have, you know, the story of Atlantis, but then you know, Plato goes on at Atlantis and they were semi-divine, and then he talks about how the gods fell, and then it just kind of ends. It's not finished. It's either unfinished or it's been lost to history. But what about the Hermocrates? Because in the book, it's like Timaeus is supposed to speak, Critias is supposed to speak and talk about Atlantis, and then Hermocrates was going to say something more. But we don't even have that book. So there's like a secret lost to history, Platonic dialogue, which just doesn't exist in the world. So we have the Timaeus, we have half of the Critias, and the Hermocrates is just gone. There's nothing to be known about it. But nonetheless, I just thought I'd mention that because it's interesting that he mentions the Timaeus as a good book to read. So Corpus Hermeticum and Timaeus, respectable, very respectable books to mention in something like this. Were these creators of Neanderthals the Anunnaki? Anunnaki was a human given name, but yes, the myth was born from that event. The entities that created us were, according to the one in the Antarctic cave, selfish, devoid of spirituality, materialistic, and parasitic. Oof. They are still around, with some of them remaining in underground areas. That's interesting. So that goes into the whole conspiracy theory of like secret underground cities holding, you know, secret races that may or may not be malevolent. Check out Mr. Mythos's channel. He's got a whole bunch of Hollow Earth and underground civilization videos. They're pretty good. They're pretty good to go through. The conflict between these groups has given rise to many myths in the human mind. Prometheus, Devas versus Asuras, Satan versus Yahweh, and so on. So he mentions this dichotomy that we talked about before. It's interesting, he mentions Prometheus, but always remember Prometheus was the good guy, and Zeus is then the bad guy that chains him to the mountains. And who is this Nordic representing? The Nordic is representing the rebels that came and tempt us away from our creator. I'm not saying I'm pro-creator, I'm just saying keep in mind, the creator is either going to be tyrannical or is going to be loving. And the rebel The rebel is either going to be a tempter that wants us to just degenerate and follow them, or the rebel will want us to truly develop, and that's the reason why the rebel helped us in the first place, because we weren't developing, we were stagnating under our tyrant ruler. Which is one litmus test. If anyone is trying to, I guess, pull you away from the path, what are they actually giving you that can help develop your consciousness? If it's just some new age slop about love and light, well, you can forget about it. It's probably just some projection of the trickster trying to troll you. Nonetheless, why are they always hiding? They come from a culture where each sentient being must walk alone and, as he put it, be initiated through their own suffering. How very Nietzsche/Buddhist. He claims they hide because there was a time when they were always with us. But we didn't evolve, we didn't develop, we were like children, and apparently we still are. No. This is New Age slop. That again? That is New Age slop right there. Pure, unadulterated, uncut New Age slop. Anyone who knows anything about occult traditions and ancient initiation, the whole thing is the gods did develop humans. They developed, maybe not all humans, but that's never really a possibility to develop everyone at the same time. So you have a group of humans that you develop, and then that group of humans goes on and, this is the whole concept of mystery schools or the academy. Those who can develop are accepted in. Maybe they go through trials, and once they prove themselves, they are then initiated into the mysteries, and there they develop their spirit. This is something continuous all throughout history. To say that once upon a time the gods were there, but we were stagnating and so they left, that's New Age slop. No. No, this is we're your parents and you're the kids, and we just need to we needed to let you go because you just weren't growing up close to us. No. No. New Age slop. Although he has been asleep for many years, he has maintained contact with the others through unknown means. He tells us that something big is happening this year. 2 more weeks, baby, 2 more weeks. Are recovery missions coordinated through your single department, or are multiple nations involved under this UNUSA directive? Multiple. What are the protocols for securing a crash site? Are private contractors involved, or is it exclusively handled by government agencies? That's a pretty good question from an Anon. Securing a crash site, especially one involving a UAP, is tightly controlled by government agencies. Military units establish a perimeter, assess hazards, and prevent unauthorized access. Private contractors may assist with logistics or technical support. Okay, so they may hire, I guess, trucks from an outside source? That sounds interesting. But work under strict government supervision and NDAs. So some transport companies may be hired, but, they sign NDAs and have no idea what's, sealed in the containment unit that they're transporting. The government needs a driver. Communication is heavily encrypted and materials are quickly transported to secure facilities. Secrecy and containment are the top priorities. I swear he just drops like SCP in that last sentence just to troll us. What are the primary concerns during retrieval, security, contamination, or potential retaliation? The primary concerns during retrieval include ensuring the crash site is contained to prevent unauthorized access and securing any sensitive materials. There is also a significant focus on preventing contamination, as the objects could pose biological, chemical, or radiological risks. Specialized teams are equipped to handle these hazards while protecting personnel and the surrounding environment. Another concern is the possibility of retaliation, either from the origin of the object or from adversarial groups seeking to exploit the situation. Adversarial groups. Once again, he's being vague. We'll see if anyone asks a question and then prompts more detail from that. Maintaining secrecy and operational control is essential throughout the process. More details on the abandoned military base. The cave was enormous. I can share some photos in a few hours. By the way, I'm not suicidal. If I go silent without sharing anything else, fear the worst. Why would he go silent if he's had authorization to give this? Huh? I mean, maybe some of the spelling errors can be explained by, this is a guy leaking information and he's looking over his shoulder while he's leaking information, but he said previously that he was authorized. So this to me seems a little contradiction, a little sus. So if I go silent without sharing anything else, fear the worst. I'm not joking. The base was underground. No tech, only the egg and the pod with a sleeping entity. There was a strange metallic box containing a few tomes or books in language which seems to be a mix of Sumerian and Proto-European. We're still analyzing it, but the entity refuses to give any detailed description. Interesting. Cool. Still going with some, still building on the lore here. This is a cool sci-fi story nonetheless. Let's go along for the ride. Everyone, they always love the Sumerian and Proto-European. It's never... I mean, back in the day, it was always Egyptian maybe, or maybe Sanskrit, but now it's just Sumerian all the time. But anyway, does the Nibiru Planet X myth hold any water as the home of the Anunnaki? It's a myth. The creators come from an unknown place. According to the entity, they destroyed Mars's civilization during a war also. All because Mars refused to be annexed to their empire. What happened to Mars was told time and time again by our saviors to our ancestors. This is why Mars is seen as the planet of war and blood in many ancient cultures. Our creators are destructive, and we're no different, really. A little bit of New Age slop there at the end there, but I agree with him basically just saying it's a myth for the Planet X thing. I never really liked Nibiru Planet X stuff. It just seemed a little meh. He goes on to the Mars civilization as well, which is an interesting little tidbit. Let's see if he connects it to the remote viewers. Are they the hidden ones in control and manipulation of the Earth hierarchy? They are. The Dwight Eisenhower alliance is real, and instead of accepting those who want to really help us, he went with the creators. He and other leaders traded civilians for small tech leaks. So the Dwight Eisenhower alliance is basically the conspiracy theory that Dwight Eisenhower made a deal with aliens. It seems like OP here is confirming that this is true, and that indeed human abductions were allowed to happen by the government in exchange for alien tech, which is highly plausible, if everything else he's saying is true. OP, would you comment on what lies are being told by the other factions? 1. Aliens are not demons. 2. There are no remote viewers finding UAPs. Okay, I'm gonna have to, disagree with this one right here. This one right here is sounds a little psyopy, and I'll tell you why. The thing about remote viewing is potentially everyone can do it. Now, does that mean you're going to get a hit every time? Does that mean you're going to be an expert remote viewer after one lesson? No. In some cases, it may take years to develop someone into a military-grade psychic like they did in the old Project Stargate. But that being said, potentially everyone can do it. In saying that there are no remote viewers finding UAPs, he's basically saying don't do remote viewing. Don't do it. Don't look for information. I'm telling you the truth. You don't need to look for the truth. I'm telling you the truth. I don't like that. This is it. And that's another thing I don't like about New Age slop, is a lot of it has this humans are weak and useless, and you need the help of higher beings if you want to survive. If only you could accept, if only you were taught how to love and be spiritual by the higher beings, then the human world wouldn't be like it is today. Yeah, sure thing, buddy. No, I don't like this at all. Number 2, I don't like, and also I don't agree with, and also if you do follow the remote viewing community, people have falsified number 2 already, so if this is a government leaker, that right there is a little bit of a psyop. 3, there are no alien dead bodies. All are alive and work with us because they want to. Some because they want to continue with the abduction projects, while others, like those working with us, want to see us flourish. If they wanted to leave, they would, and we couldn't stop them. They're hiding, and if we had dead bodies, believe me, they would fetch them in a heartbeat, whether we wanted it or not. So here he's just going on theories of dead alien bodies and carcasses, which I've got really no skin in the game there, but it's interesting what he's making out there between, there are some aliens working with us and there are some working against us, but he's basically saying that the American government is split, and the split faction is literally working with the 2 different alien races that are at war with each other. So there's already some kind of civil war within the government. It's not usually in stories like this. It should be our government is working with the good guys, the good aliens, and there's another government working with the bad aliens, but he doesn't say that. He just makes a split. There's a deep state, the deep state. He doesn't say deep state, but it's like there's some faction in the government that's working with the bad aliens, the creators. But we're working with the good guys. Trust me, bro. 4, they are not surrendering the UAPs to us. These civilizations are millions of years old, and we are ants compared to them. We're ants, guys. We can't do anything. We're just ants. Sure thing, buddy. 5. Most retrievals are from ancient machinery, abandoned basically. They don't crash per se, although during their conflicts in deserted areas, we might find crashed ones. Seems he contradicts himself in that same sentence there, but nonetheless. Are there defense plans in place for potential hostile encounters? Was there ever even any hostile encounters with these things at all? Would you just shoot the motherfuckers? They are shootable. They're mortals, but their spiritual and psychic power is so... no words. If you pointed a gun at them, they could probably force you into shooting yourself in the head. This seems like something out of a movie, but it's real. We tested it. Without guns, of course. The entity explained that we're all connected. Therefore, I can tap into you, and you can tap into me. For me, this is where I cash out as an occultist. That whole thing there, slop. New Age slop. Word for word. First of all, if you've studied anything, if you study anything like Aikido or Tai Chi, or if you have studied Western magic and you have any knowledge about manipulating magnetic fields around a person's body, or even hypnotic techniques, if you've studied the things that they've done in laboratories to do with hypnosis, then you know what's capable, and some extreme things are capable through hypnosis, but you also know the limit of what's possible. Full-on turning around and doing a lelouch and making someone unalive themselves is not a real thing. It's not a real thing. And it's like, oh, but maybe if it's an alien. No, that's not a real thing, because, well, then how does he do it? Well, what's the explanation he gives? We're all connected, therefore I can tap into you and you into me. That's New Age slop. Word for word, 100% unadulterated, uncut, unfiltered New Age slop. We're all connected. Sure, in an absolute sense, we are all connected, but we're not in the absolute. We're down here, in the shit, in the world of action. And oh, you can tap into me, but you also said that I can tap into you, so why can't I just tap into you and then make you kill yourself then, huh? That just screams New Age garbage to me. Now, for posterity's sake, we'll keep going and see what else comes up. Do you know if the drones and orbs we're seeing are related to this egg or pod tech you've encountered? The videos I've seen of the drones are eerie as fuck. Some are eggs, other are orbs, the so-called Foo Fighters. This is interesting because he gives this very brief answer to this, where it seems like he doesn't quite understand the question. It's funny, the guy uses which, is there's like a meme where instead of calling an alien, you pretend to be some Italian guy from Boston going, "Hey, Tony, hey, these A's." So it's interesting, maybe this is a way to trip up people who try to use ChatGPT to supply disinfo. If you talk in memes or talk in this kind of coded way, the large language model actually struggles to come up with an answer. So it kind of avoided that first part of his question, or didn't really answer it properly because it couldn't understand what he was saying. The CIA remote viewed a race on Mars that was 10 feet tall, I believe, and their planet had geological problems. Do you know anything about this? Yes, we call it temporal view. The remote viewer saw the past. In fact, he was seeing the last survivors of the Martian War. So this comes from, once again, the Project Stargate files. There was an experiment they did with the military psychics where they would write down a location on a piece of paper and put it in an envelope and then give the envelope to the remote viewer in question. And the remote viewer would just, try to visualize what was in the paper, and then they would basically describe a location. And one of the envelopes, just as a joke to try and trip them up, they wrote on it something like Mars 10 million years ago, and then when they gave it to the remote viewer, something was described. This land, there was like people living there, but they didn't seem to be doing well. So that story of the CIA remote viewers remote viewing Mars is actually a real story. What? Real story. Did it happen, or is it just disinfo that the CIA themselves released to the public to troll people? Who knows, but that's actually a thing that's known. So it's interesting that it's brought up here. And the asteroid belt, from what I've read, it's from a destroyed planet. It was a planet destroyed by the creators. Man, these creators sound like assholes. Do you think we inherit some generational trauma from the creators? How much of them is in us? From what I'm gathering, we are being helped by the handsome blondes, but it is ultimately up to us to change. We don't have any of the creators working with us, sadly. They are working with the other team. Let's put it like this. Hold on a second. Why did he say sadly? If the creators are so bad, or if they're assholes, why is it sad that they're not working with you, huh? Why they're working with the other team? It's a bit of a contradiction there, but okay. So, we can't be sure of how much DNA we share with them, but according to some of our cuckoo birds, we share a lot of aDNA with them. So aDNA is just ancient DNA, which, when people use that, they use that to mean like just DNA that's extracted from like fossils and archaeological digs. It's like, your DNA in you is just your DNA. Well, what do you mean by ancient DNA? You mean you're just going through our genetic code all the way back in history, and if you go back far enough, there's some that's kind of the same. You wouldn't call that ADN. I don't know. That's a weird statement to make there, although I'm not a geneticist. Maybe what he said made sense. If there's any geneticists watching, or biologists, just comment below what the hell OP is talking about here. About the trauma. Well, trauma is continuous. What our ancestors suffered was transferred to future generations through social and genetic heritage. So yeah, I'd say we suffer now mostly because of our origins. Original sin, baby. How Christian. How much range does telepathy have? Can we send a telepathic message to the aliens right now? We're still studying their capabilities, but from our experiments last year, he could speak to some of us while he was locked inside a room. This screams BS to me because, once again, Project Stargate, once again, over 100 years of parapsychological tests on telepathy. They know the range of telepathy. He can just look it up. If, he was writing a sci-fi story, he just hasn't bothered to. Or, if he really was military, he would know that the CIA already has that info. So he wouldn't be like, oh, we're still studying their capabilities. That just either screams dishonesty, like he's keeping us information from us, then why should we trust anything else he says? Or he's just full of shit. Are the Nordics our creators? And are they also the actual angels mentioned in the texts? No. The closest thing to the so-called Nordics would be the entity we found. These are the ones who saved us. The creators are a mix between the so-called Greys and another race that we know nothing about. Yes, these are the angels/gods. So this is interesting because, once again, I think this fails in the light of actual UFO lore. If you study extended UFO lore, you'll know that the Greys every now and then show up alongside the Nordics. In fact, some people have gone so far to say the Greys aren't time travelers or a species from a far distant planet or future that did so much genetic engineering they can no longer reproduce and they're coming back in time because humanity can save them. That's all bullshit. From the data that's been gathered through actual UFO lore, it seems more like the Greys are a type of robot, a biological robot that are created by another alien race and they're servants of another alien race. In fact, sometimes it seems the Greys serve the Nordics. So the fact that this guy's making this dichotomy here between the Nordics and the Greys, it just seems like he hasn't studied UFO lore properly. And he's just gotten the two most common ones, like the archetype of the grey alien and the archetype of the sexy Nordic supermodel. And he's just gone, they're opposing teams. He hasn't bothered to look up any proper lore. So for me, this is also where it's starting to fail, and this seems more and more like some guy's, cool little sci-fi fanfic that he's made up. Do human beings have non-local consciousness? If so, do we get to keep it after we die? He speaks of something similar to reincarnation. He even said something similar to la vie ici. Nothing is lost, nothing is created, everything is transformed. So this is Lavoisier, is the French chemist who quoted this statement here. Nothing is lost, nothing is created, everything is transformed. He claims we humans can reincarnate in other planets and universes. No, we can't. At least, unless we develop ourselves. If you don't develop yourselves and gain a proper astral body, you cannot leave the moon girdle of the Earth. So this right here, humans can reincarnate on other planets and universe. That's New Age slop. Also, do we get to interact with the NHI non-human intellect realm after we die? I'm not sure. Sorry. Okay, this is interesting because, once again, he uses an acronym. I'm not sure if that is non-human intelligence or non-human intellect or whatever, but the guy clearly doesn't know what this is. Instead of asking, like, what's NHI? He just says, I'm not sure, sorry, which sounds like something that an AI would say. Like, he put this question into an AI prompt and then just copy-pasted the answer without any effort. Like, come on, bro. Come on. Next, the Creator's empire still exists, but there are wars outside of our system. NASA has some info about that, and even got some of their space probes destroyed when going outside of our system due to conflicts. The Saviors, or Nordics, saviors, because we need to be saved, bull, don't allow any races to come to our planet, nor do they allow us to personally leave the solar system. Sounds kind of tyrannical if you think about it. Because they fear we will do the same as our creators did due to us being childish. In the 60s and 70s, there were many races coming here due to some internal conflicts, but since then, the number of races have diminished. We have many illegals coming here? Bro, get those Donald Trump blonde space aliens to build a space wall, apparently. Like, what the hell is even this? What the hell is even this? This lore is just getting kind of silly now. So you woke him up, right? So what if you hadn't? Would he still be asleep? And how long for? He was taken to a certain location. I won't disclose which one. I swear he said he took him to Europe before, but whatever. And after a few hours, he woke up on his own. They didn't touch anything because they had no idea how that pod worked, and they feared that meddling with the wrong thing could kill him. I think he was probably waiting for the team, as if he knew. It's good story writing. That's some good prose there, actually. I felt that. Did the Antarctic egg come into being that way as well? This one was found next to an entity that had been sleeping inside a pod, not using cryogenic technology for 700 years. The egg is even older than that. As for the leaked video from the News Nation segment, I wouldn't trust it. Did he allude to the likelihood of a reset taking place? Yes. Great reset confirmed, boys. Is it very likely, or is there any factors that could make them decide otherwise? If mankind unites as one, and if we stop polluting the planet like we are? New Age slop. How do they even reset us? Massive destruction. Let's put it like this. They say they have to fight fire with fire. That sounds like they're the bad guys, bro. Not gonna lie. Kill most of humanity and destroy all signs that we existed. Flood the earth? Question mark? Atlantis and older civilizations were destroyed by them in order to protect the world, so it's nothing new to them really. Once again, makes them sound like the bad guys. What about people who are starseeds? They know this world is not going to last longer. I'm sure of it. New Age slop confirmed. If we sort of reincarnate, why do we lose our memories from previous lives? I assume it is also possible for other entities to reincarnate on Earth, and they, or we, don't have memories about it. Earth is essentially like hell. A place where those who reincarnate didn't have the best karma. There are countless planets like ours. You said Earth is unique and precious though, why are there countless planets like ours? Where the sentient population transforms their world into a realm of suffering and despair. Once again, if Earth is precious, why is it a living hell? Contradiction and also New Age slop. Was Bob Lazar, Jason Sands, Whitley Strieber, or the underwater UFO guy in 4chan telling the truth? Yes. Elaborate on that. No. Cool, thanks bro. If the good Nordics are so advanced, why can the Greys still hide and remain in underground places? Is it a manpower issue or a tech issue? I wouldn't know. We never discussed that. Did the alien tell you his name? Good question. According to him, since they exist as a unified entity now, essentially functioning as a single collective consciousness, they no longer need names. Instead, they use a term akin to brother or sister, though it's completely genderless. New Age schlop. If you were all one being, why do you need separate bodies? And if you do have separate being bodies, why don't you name them? The mere fact that you have a separate being body, like a name is just a label. You don't have to label the spirit, okay? You can say we're all one in God, but we'll each have an individuality. This right here is a complete misunderstanding of embodied consciousness. Dare I say, a New Age misunderstanding of embodied consciousness. Are you politely saying we all probably have bad karma? We were actively bad people in previous lives? I didn't say it. It was him. Although, after knowing what I know, I would trust him with my life. I wouldn't. Why are you telling us this? Because understanding our potential place in a larger cosmic context is vital. True. If these experiences reflect genuine phenomena, they could redefine humanity's understanding of itself and its relationship to the universe. Sharing knowledge encourages curiosity, skepticism, and dialogue. Key components for growth. Growth of what? Growth of personality, that which is fabricated, or growth of essence, that which is eternal? I'm all for sharing knowledge and having a dialectic, moving through skepticism and dialogue, but a lot of what this guy said doesn't read as anything other than nonsense. Was Travis Walton's case of abduction genuine? The Travis Walton abduction case remains one of the most controversial and well-documented UFO encounters. His story, corroborated by multiple witnesses who saw the craft and his subsequent polygraph tests, lends credibility to his claims. However, skeptics argue that it could all have been a hoax for attention or financial gain. Regardless of the truth, the case has deeply influenced UFO lore and the ongoing search for answers. And if we didn't need any more evidence for the case, that right there is the result that a large language model would spit out if you put this question in. OP is a huge
and hit, drive, Henderson, what the hell are you doing?
I would disregard everything he says, because this guy's clearly making his own sci-fi fanfic, and on the off chance that he isn't, he is a massive idiot, exposing large swaths of people to disinformation. OP here with a last message. This picture I'm sharing is the original I took before doing the collage. You can see the details and confirm it. I thought he said he wasn't on this mission and he just got the videos from elsewhere. There are US government agents pretending to be me. Don't accept any other answers after this post. You are all being victims of disinformation from these other accounts. I will find a way to communicate with you all through other methods. This guy is the biggest QAnon wannabe. Good lord. Stay safe and don't interact with the agents. Right. Okay. So here's the thing. I get it. It's a big ask because there's a lot of UFO lore that has piled up over the last century, but there are a few people who have aggregated a lot of it. So I'd like to recommend a book here. This isn't sponsored. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just want to lay this down. There's a book called Closer Encounters by Jason Rezojani. This book is a massive aggregate of a whole bunch of UFO lore. It's also written by an actual philosopher who then puts rigorous questions to the test. So he goes through all of the resulting, like, what ifs. What if aliens are time travelers? What if they come from another dimension? What if the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis is true? By applying all of the facts together, all of the myths, all of the UFO lore, he comes to certain conclusions. And whether, you agree with all of his conclusions or not, this book is the ultimate tool for winding your way through disinformation, turning down the noise, and clearing a path through all of the disinformation and misinformation to get closer to the truth. Because things like this, things like what we just read, there are people out there who will believe that, who will ignore the New Age slop and the clear ChatGPT responses, and will just go for it. There are people who will just go for it, and it's like, no, you need to be immune to this kind of stuff. So go buy Closer Encounters, and thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.